there everyone, welcome to Pour Painting with Ron. I hope you've all been really well since the last time I saw you. Well, today I thought I would try a variation of the Starburst theme that I did over the last two videos. If you haven't seen those, I'll put a link to those at the end of this video today. Anyway, you'll see what a Starburst is in a second. It's a little tricky to explain, but it essentially is a Dutch pour using a blow dryer. Now, when doing this technique, your paints do need to be really thin, otherwise you can't blow them out really well with the blow dryer. But anyway, more about that in a bit. So the canvas I'm using today is this large 40 centimeter by 80 centimeter thin edge canvas, and as you can see, I've pre-painted the edges simply because this technique doesn't always cover the edges, so it's a good idea to paint them beforehand to save any ugly white bits showing after your painting dries and trying to touch them up then. I've picked, if you've seen the last two videos that I did, they were using a lot of blues and gold. I thought I'd change it today and use lots of bright pinks and burgundies and things. So I've picked out a few interesting colours that I think should look really nice together. So I'm using Amsterdam paints and a couple of metallics today. So I'm using a bit of black for the centre. This is their black oxide. I'm also using some of their titanium white. And then I've got this lovely colour. Which one is it? Permanent red violet. And I'm also mixing it up with a little bit of black to make a really dark burgundy colour. Then a bit of a lighter shade. This one is, what is it? Queenac Rose, or Rose Queenac. Anyway, you can see the colour here, rose colour. And then the metallics, I'm using American Decoart metallics. This one is garnet. And then same brand, berry colour. And then the Decoart Extreme Sheen colours, a really light one, rose quartz and some sterling silver. These particular metallics give really nice cells in the painting. Now I'm mixing all of those with Floetrol today, Australian Floetrol. Works just as well, I've heard, if you just use water to thin your paints, so you don't have to use any Floetrol at all if you don't want to. But I do, it spreads the paint out a little bit further. I use 1-to-1 paint and Floetrol. So I mix up about 40 grams of each colour to about 40 grams of Floetrol, should be heaps. And then I added water until I got the right consistency for each colour. So I'll show you the consistency in a little bit. It's quite a bit thinner than I would use for a flip cup or a ring pour. Anyway, let's get started. Righto, here we are with my masses of colours for the painting today. Hope they all work. I do want to have the black in the centre, and then I'll have the dark metallic colour after the black. And then I've mixed up my other colours a little bit where normal colours and metallic colours interspersed, finishing off with this really dark burgundy colour that I ended up with. Okay, now the consistency is pretty thin. So if I dribble it off my spoon, I don't really get a mound. A little bump as it dribbles back into the paint, and if I do a twirly shape, the bump on the surface of the paint is only there like for half a second or so. So it is pretty runny. You don't want it watery runny, but you do want it quite runny, so your blow dryer can blow the colours over the canvas. Now, I may have too much paint here, but that's okay. I can just cover it with a bit of cling wrap and it will keep for ages, and I can use it in another painting. All right, so I'll just put these aside. I think that's the order I'll use them in, but I could change my mind. You never know. All right, and I'll bring in the canvas. Hopefully you can see that. I think you can. Okay. All right. Here we go. Now, I could put just the black in the middle like that, but I think it'd look more interesting if it was a bit of a different sort of shape. So we'll do that first. Get rid of the spoon. Maybe like that, you think? Maybe a bit wider there. I don't want it too huge. I think that'll look all right. Maybe just slightly more up here. Okay. A little bit of black goes a long way. All right, now we've got this lovely metallic colour. I think this one's the garnet. Now, I don't want to overdo it, otherwise I'm going to get a very wide ring of the garnet. Now you could put it in a squeeze bottle, so you have a bit more control if it's in a squeeze bottle. As I said, I'll have paint left over. I can do another painting. Now a bit of white. And then some silver. So if you don't want the nice cells, you do need a combination of the normal paints and metallics. Just using straight metallics, you won't get them. This is a lovely colour. You don't have to be too exact. And this very rose quartz is a nice metallic colour as well. Cool. I managed to get it all the way around. You've got further to go when you get closer to the edge of the canvas. Alright, then this other pink, rose, I think it was called. And we're going to have to use more of the other colours just to fill in the corners. Okay, some of this, whatever this colour was, I forget. much point putting it down here because it's going to get blown off the canvas. Alright, now I'll reuse some of those colours in these corners. Like so. Which one was next? Bit of white. Better having too much than not enough paint on your canvas. Like so. And then, oh, which one was next? I've forgotten. Oh, silver. And then some of this colour. Ooh. I like this light pinky colour. And then I think I'll finish off with this burgundy colour. In the corners, plonk a bit there. Most of it's going to get blown off anyway. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of paint on the canvas. Hopefully, yes, you can still see that. Now I'll give it a little bit of a torch. Get rid of some air bubbles. Now hopefully I don't have too much paint on the canvas, but we'll see when I start blowing it out. Now, as I said in my last video, this is a VS Sassoon Pro Dry 2300 blow dryer. Just got it from Kmart for $29. I find it works really well. Some blow dryers don't have an even amount of air coming out of the nozzle. My last one didn't. It had more coming out the sides than the middle, which made it really difficult. And it has a cool button on there. So I'm going to use the cool button and the lowest heat setting and the lowest fan setting. Now you don't want to go over and over and over it. Once or twice is enough, otherwise you tend to muddy the colours. And you start from afar and come close so you can see what you're doing. Anyway, fingers crossed. Okay, I might do it. Ooh, that one's horrible. Okay, that's quite interesting. Yes, not sure. I don't particularly like that, but I won't do it again. What you can do when the painting dries, you can just touch up this little part with just a bit of black paint, and you won't notice. Something bizarre happened here. I might fix that. That's better. Okay, nice, nice. Now I'll give it a torch. Don't get too close or you will burn your paint. Metallics take a little while to develop, so I might get some pearls popping up. The extreme sheen creates nice pearls, so the silver I can see is popping up, and they will continue to develop over the next 30 minutes or so. Okay, that'll do. I'll barbecue everything. Well, yeah, the metallics really react really well with the Amsterdam paints, and you get all sorts of interesting cells and lacing effects happening. I'll let this sit for a little bit before I bring you in for a closer look. But in the meantime, I'll just go around the edges and just scrape off the bottom edges, because you don't want ugly bumps of paint on your painting once it's dried. And drips can pull paint off your canvas as well. Now I can see some of my corners and edges weren't covered, and that's why it was a good idea to pre-paint the edges of the canvas. It avoids heartache later on. Once the paint dries, you don't notice it. It all goes flat, and it looks as though it was all meant to be there. Whereas if you try to go back later, you can make a mess of it. To paint it I normally don't pre-paint the edges, but for this technique it's a good idea. Well, I think so anyway. Everyone has their own way of doing it. If the paint was thicker, you'd have to go around a few more times to scrape the edges off, but because it's fairly runny, it all moves a lot quicker. And just once or twice should be plenty. This painting is really lovely. I love how this technique turns out. Uses expensive paint, but anyway, you get what you pay for sometimes. But and I like how it's not a circle shape. It gives an interesting design. So I said I'll paint over this bit with black once the painting has dried, because I don't like that bit. Okay, cool. I'll bring you in for a closer look. I have no idea if you can see that painting, so I'm holding the camera above my head, but I hope you can. Anyway, I'll bring you down. So you can see that bit there I didn't particularly like, so I'll paint over that in black once the painting has dried, and you won't notice that it's there. Anyway, we'll just go around this way. As you can see, the lacing and the cells are just lovely. It almost looks like an agate rock or something. All around the edges there. That's the purples and pinks and silver, bit of white to lighten things up. It's just lovely. Then you see how that colour I put around the black in the middle dominates. So don't put too much colour around the centre if you don't want it dominating too much. So what did you think of that one? I really like how this one turned out. I really love the colour combination. If I was going to do it again, perhaps I'd use a fewer of the darker colours and more of the lighter colours just to brighten things up a bit. But I think the overall effect is just really lovely. And it should look really nice once it's dry and the metallics start to shimmer. You can't really see the metallics that well. Well, it's wet. They come to the forefront once it's dry. I hope I've inspired you to maybe give this technique a go yourself. It's not too difficult. Just make sure that your paint is of a nice thin consistency so you can blow it out using the blow dryer. If it's too thick, you won't be able to do it and you'll just end up with mud. No one likes mud. Anyway, as usual, if you like what you saw today, please take a moment to press the like button. It helps my content get found on YouTube. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, please take a moment to subscribe. So I hope you have a really great week ahead and happy painting!